Hi there. My name is Scott Marker, and this is another episode of Treasure Valley Quick Tips. What it is I'm a franchise owner of a once-a-month professional referral group. It's out of Houston, Texas, called Network in Action. I was the first one here. And out of that, I just meet a lot of high caliber local business professionals here in the Treasure Valley. And I like to bring them on and share some of their knowledge with the listeners. So today is interesting because last week, we're going to do a 4-part series. And last week we had Kory on to do the first step interview. And it was about kind of where we're at here in the Treasure Valley on the crazy, we're just in a crazy housing market. And so we kind of just went over kind of where we're at. And today we're going to talk about what do you do if you're a buyer or seller? So Kory, introduce yourself again.
Yeah, thanks for having me on again, Scott. And I'm excited to be here and just kind of go over a little bit of what buyers and sellers can do in this market. So it's always changing. Seems like it's changing every, week, month. So look forward to going over a few things.
Yeah. And I mentioned to you before we started this, that I'm really a perfect example because I can't remember when I bought this house over 12 years ago. So I haven't really thought about buying and selling a home, but if I was, I'd be lost. So, yeah. I mean, so if I was, let's say I was going to buy a house, right? What are some things, that you can what are some, I guess, ideas that you can help somebody if I was going to try to, buy a house in this, market? And real quick, give a background again, here in the Treasure Valley, we have record growth, record price increases. And so it's just, and I'm a 3rd generation Idahoan, and every time I think I've seen it, it's crazy. It can get, it's crazy. It's crazier now. The prices are higher than ever. So that being said, again, setting that up, if I was going to be a buyer, give me some guidance.
Yeah. Well, yeah, thanks, Scott. And like we mentioned last week, it's kind of a little bit of an uncertain market. Like prices are super high, like you said. It's a growing area. So tons of people are moving here, but there's some uncertainty in the economy. Interest rates are rising. So it's just a really interesting time. So just kind of looking at today and what we're looking at moving forward, I really try to go into with my buyers and sellers, just kind of their motivation. Like what's the reason they're wanting to buy a house? What's the reason they're wanting to sell? I mean, everyone has different motivations. Some people need bigger space, like they're having new kids, right, and they need a bigger house. Other people, they might be downsizing, like they're empty nesters, or maybe there's a health issue, they need a single story. So motivation kind of plays a big role for anyone on why they're looking to buy or sell. So it's the same today for sure.
And again, that is because you're the one that does this all the time, right? Is that, I mean, it's kind of the dumb moment for me is when you say like, well, why are you moving? Why do you want to buy a new home, for example? Yeah. And that's a perfect, I mean, you have more kids. Well, what type of bedroom, what type of house you have right now, right? Yeah. 2-bedroom. How many do you need? So I guess that's one of the first things. And again, that's just because you do it all the time. So for you, it's kind of just a no-brainer. But to me, I'm thinking, you're right. Or am I being forced to move? Moving, relocating to Idaho. I'm being forced to move. And then I guess from there also, you'd probably ask me, if I was moving to Idaho, where am I going to be working at?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
out of my home versus an office.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Jobs play a huge part. That's why either people move here, maybe they get a job out in the Treasure Valley area, or, they're looking to move because they got a job on the East Coast or whatever it may be. So, in those situations, like those, it doesn't matter what the market's like those people need to buy and sell a house. It doesn't matter if interest rates are high or what the prices are like. If you're not going to live here, more likely than not, unless you want an investment property, you're going to end up having to sell. So
right. Yeah. And so what's some of the craziest reasons you've heard of people buying homes and moving, investing?
Yeah. I mean, there's lots. I work with a lot of investors. I have seen a growing trend of just people who are still, maybe they have a really great job working on the West Coast, and some of the bigger metropolitan areas out there. And they know when they retire, they want to move out of California or Oregon or whatever it may be, and So they're buying a house years in advance, like knowing,
Wow.
hey, in 3 years I can retire, because they have great jobs out there. So
Right.
they
right.
want to finish up their career, or maybe they have like a pension or something like that in place, and they want to finish out their career, but they want to buy now before prices go up too much. So that's kind of just been a unique thing I've been seeing the last few
No,
years.
that is a great thing to think about, because again, I mean, if someone was going to think about moving here and just want to, get a house while they still can in a certain area, for example, at a certain price, with all this, a lot of uncertainty, you could buy a house here 3 years ahead of time and rent it out, right?
Yeah.
Lease it out for 3 years and then move it, then the end of that 3 years, move here and have a house already ready to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh.
And I mean, just kind of on the buyer end, like we mentioned last week, like interest rates are going up, but so's rent. So for our buyers, we really ask a lot of questions, like trying to figure out, is it actually beneficial to them to buy? Do they foresee rent going up where they're currently renting? Has it gone up the past few years? And in most instances, that's yes, depending on their price point, for sure. Like sometimes you can get pretty close with the cost of a mortgage versus the cost of rent. And as we all know, most people lock in a payment for 30 years, and 30 years from now, that's going to look like a really good payment. So
yeah.
you really got to take that into consideration.
Or we mentioned the last time too, is that you have to move here for whatever reason, right?
Yeah.
So you move here and you get a house, and the interest rates aren't where you want them to be, but you lock into a 30-year, and 6 years from now they're back down half of that. You just refinance.
Yeah.
Refinance. And so that's always, I mean, that's again, a lot of those things, probably common sense to you, but that's what you bring to the table, is kind of helping people kind of, figure out these type of things going forward. So now what happens if we reverse that? And I guess if I'm going to buy another house and I live here, and let's say I'm living in another house. So what's what are some things I need to, because again, you hear about people coming from out of town, with cash offers, and, and a lot of times they're not, that's not contingent on, I make, in my case, it would be contingency on me selling my house to buy the other house, because I don't have enough cash flow just to, float a new home without leveraging this home. So what do you do to someone like in my case?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's kind of unique opportunities at the moment where you actually can get a contingent offer accepted, where you got to put your house on the market and sell it. And we really haven't seen that for like 2 years, where it was just super tough to get a contingent offer accepted, like almost impossible. Even a lot of builders didn't want contingent offers, so it's kind of nice for those people that have thought about selling the last few years, but they're almost like, hey, I don't know where I'm going to move. Like, it's hard to get a house. Like, I don't want to sell my house and end up homeless. So it's kind of a unique opportunity where now they can actually put in some contingent offers and go ahead and list their house, still get a great price on selling their home, and be able to kind of have that confidence that they already have a place to go. And that's perfect for people that are like downsizing, upsizing, anything like that. And again, we haven't seen that for a couple of years. So
yeah. So, and again, that's something that I didn't know. I haven't heard about, so are there people now buying new homes with the condition that that their house sells first?
Yeah. It's we've seen it really.
See, I didn't know that was back on the table, because like you said, I just watch the news. It's all about, have multiple offers on a house, so, and they're not contingent on selling their house. And so, unfortunately for someone like me, you'd be like, well, hey, we got to go with these people, because, they can get it done, versus we might have to wait a while to get your house sold.
Yeah. And so, I mean, for sellers, there's kind of considering all things. If they need to move for, their personal circumstances, and some people are going the other way. Like they have just a killer interest rate. I saw a stat the other day that 99% of all mortgages are at an interest rate lower than what we're at right now. So that means 99% of all people have an interest rate lower than the 5.25.
Wow.
Whatever we are today. So some people are, balancing that, and like, hey, I like my 3% interest rate. I'm just going to stick it out and see what happens. So it's kind of that balance, like see what their life circumstances look like. And if it works for them to move into something else, there's some opportunities right now. And it might look better for them to stay where they're at, upgrade their house, maybe do a remodel or pull out some cash from their home, remodel their home how they want it. So we really just,
and there's, you're exactly right. So someone can stay put, but again, going back to what you first said, what's making you want to buy a new home? Well, if it's that, I'm a senior couple, all the kids are out of the house. You have this huge house. You don't need all the extra rooms and space. You could sell it and then afford, and you tell me on this in my brain, I'm thinking, if you bought a substantially smaller house, right? Because you just don't need that big a house, right? And it was, even though the prices are up, it'd be cheaper compared to the house you had. Then you could afford, you'd have some extra money to put away and also be able to afford maybe a little bit of higher interest rates.
Yeah. And so that's really just one of our jobs, and our team talks about it weekly, is just how to talk through these big decisions with buyers and sellers. And for most people, it's the biggest either purchase or sale they'll ever do in their life. So we really try to talk people through that, help them figure out what's the best move for them. Sometimes it's to sell their house or buy a house, and sometimes it's not. And that's kind of one of the things that separates us. Is,
I love that too, because I love hearing you say that, because you're right that you're doing what's best for the customer. And maybe it isn't right to, maybe it's not right to buy another house. Maybe you should just wait it out and not have to move. In every case, you don't have to move. I heard you say something. I know this, but I want the listeners to know. I'd be thinking, because you run kind of a small team, that must help you, because then when you can talk to other people on your team about some challenges they have or some unique situations, does that help?
Yeah, it definitely helps. So we have a small team here in the Treasure Valley, and so it helps just by the amount of volume we're seeing come through. So we're able to notice changes in the market for our buyers and sellers quicker than many, because the amount of transactions we're going through. So when we have a listing and it's dead one weekend, like, we can see that there's less buyers out there looking, we need to price homes appropriately. Or if we see tons of buyer activity on our open houses on the weekend, we know, hey, we might be able to price this more aggressively because there's tons of buyers out there looking for houses in this range. So anyway, we just kind of have an advantage, I think, from a lot of people, because we're able to see what's going on so much quicker. And I never thought about that before, but when you said that, because I know that you kind of work with the team and coach a team, and that you can bounce ideas off of each other. Because again, me on the outside looking in, a lot of times, unfortunately, you're like the part you mentioned about now people are starting to accept offers with contingent on the house selling. I hadn't heard that on the radio. I listened just to little blurps on the radio, and it's all, there's no hope. No, I think there's hope again. There's hope again.
That's awesome.
So
cool. Well, this has been great. So now that we know there's a little bit of a hope, I love that, that there's the hope there and some different options. Is next week we're going to be going over what are we be going over next week?
So next week we're going to kind of talk about some creative financing to kind of give you an advantage in the market. And so we're going to be bringing in one of my preferred lending partners, Tom. He's part of NIA as well, and he's just awesome. So he's going to come on and give us a rundown. That's his area of expertise. And kind of
Tom's great. I just went to his ribbon cutting the other day. That's a fantastic office.
Oh, cool. I was there too. I must
have crossed in the night. But it was a lot of people there. So
definitely.
Cool. Well, that'll be perfect. Yeah, like I said, because again, it'll be great for me and the listeners, because again, a lot of times all I really listen to is you get the negative sound bites and stuff, and that's not always the best thing to do, versus someone like you that's doing it every day and sees what the options. So next would be exciting, going over having Tom come and give us some other options besides like I said, I've been on the market so long, I don't know.
Get
I don't
creative.
know what option. Got to be creative. So
well,
perfect, Kory. Appreciate it. Thanks everybody for listening. And wait for next week, and we'll be talking about some creative financing.
All right. Thanks, Scott.
Hey, thanks, Kory.